Welcome everyone. In this video, we are preparing for the CIPS Commercial Contracting L4M3 exam. Before solving questions, it is important to understand what topics the L4M3 exam is based on. Most questions come from contract law principles, where you are given a business scenario and asked to select the most legally and commercially correct decision. This exam does not test memorization. It tests practical understanding and application. The difficulty level of the L4M3 exam is medium to high because questions are scenario-based. Slight wording changes can change the correct answer. Options often look similar. That is why many candidates find this exam tricky, even after reading the syllabus. The most effective way to overcome this challenge is by practicing important questions with explanations. When you practice MCQs, you understand how CIPS frames questions. Your scenario reading skills improve. You learn from mistakes. Your exam confidence increases. That is why in today's video, we will discuss Study for Exam 15, important practice test questions with explanations that can directly help in the L4M3 exam. Question 1. John is a new procurement manager who has recently joined Smith's Facilities Management Ltd. The company provides maintenance services through the utilization of subcontractors. It is experiencing a number of issues with its supply chain, which has resulted in customer complaints, and John would like to introduce service level agreements, SLAs, to some of its key providers. Which of the following should be included? How often the service will be provided? The procedures to be followed to resolve disputes. The qualifications needed by staff providing the service. The stock maintained by the subcontractor. The correct answer is A, 1, 3, and 4 only. Explanation. An SLA typically specifies service frequency, 1, how often services are delivered. Staff qualifications, 3, competence and skill standards. Stock levels, 4, inventory of parts or materials the subcontractor must maintain. Question 2. The nature of the battle of the forms is when both buyer and supplier are attempting to. The correct answer is A, secure their own terms and conditions. Explanation. The battle of the forms occurs when both buyer and supplier exchange documents, RFQ, PO, acknowledgements, containing their own standard terms and conditions. Each party is trying to ensure their own terms govern the contract. It is literally a battle to secure their own terms and conditions. A. Question 3. Maximum score. One John Jameson purchased his new car from Warrington Autos Ltd, a local car dealership. He signed the hire purchase agreement with Car Finance Services Ltd and made the required 3 months payment in advance to confirm the purchase and take delivery of the car. On the day of delivery, the car was incorrectly offloaded from the transporter by Vehicle Transport Ltd, and the car is a total insurance write-off. Which party had title in the vehicle? The correct answer is C, Car Finance Services Ltd. Explanation. Under a hire purchase arrangement, the finance company, Car Finance Services LLT, buys the vehicle from the dealer and retains legal title. The customer, John, only obtains title after all installments are fully paid. At the time of the accident, John had only paid 3 months in advance and therefore did not yet have title. The dealer has already sold the car to the finance company, and the transporter is just a carrier. Question 4. Which of the following would you expect to see in an invitation to tender, ITT? The correct answer is C, delivery milestones. Explanation. The ITT is issued by the buyer and typically includes requirements, scope, and delivery milestones. C. Evaluation criteria, instructions to tenderers, contract conditions, etc. Supplier rates and liquidity ratios belong in the supplier response or financial evaluation. BAFO is a later negotiation step, not content of the ITT itself. Question 5. Maximum score, 1. When a company has decided to outsource part of its operation, the contract will need to include a number of key contract terms to minimize risk. Which of the following should be included? A confidentiality clause designed to protect either party. A clause stating how long the service is to be outsourced. A clause stating how long the employees can take for holiday. A contract variation and price adjustment clause. The correct answer is A, 1 and 4 only. Explanation. Risk minimizing contract terms for outsourcing typically include confidentiality. 1. Protects sensitive information. Variation and price adjustment. 4. Allows controlled changes to scope and pricing over time. Service duration is important, but not itself a risk control clause. Employee holiday length is an HR detail, not a key risk term. Correct answer, 1 and 4 only. Questions 6. Which of the following sections would typically be included in a specification for services? The correct answer is A description of the service requirements. Explanation. A well-drafted service specification includes a clear description of the services to be delivered, fault rectification timelines, and the duration of service. These define scope, performance expectations, and timelines. Evaluation methodology and contract terms are important, but they are part of separate procurement or contractual documentation. Reference: CIPS L4M3 Commercial Contracting Study Guide, Chapter 2, Section 2.1.3 Components of Service Specifications. Question 7. Which of the following are likely to be advantages of using request for quotation? Select 2 that apply. The correct answer is A. Lower administration costs. B. Short turnaround times. Explanation. One of the advantages of using the RFQ method to procure pricing is that the company making the solicitation does not need to prepare any documentation, as requests are sent out privately. With less paperwork to prepare, turnaround times for quotes are reduced. Administration cost is also lower in compare with other procurement method like ITT or RFP. RFQ is usually used in low-value purchase, where buyer knows the detailed specification and the price is the only variable that need to consider. To use RFQ effectively, the buyer should attach the detailed specification and standard terms and conditions. The RFQ should only be sent to verified suppliers. Reference: What is an RFQ? CIPS Study Guide, page 3-4, LO1, AC 1.1. Questions 8. A retailer prefers to display its best-selling products and promotion program on the building windows. According to Rule of Contract Formation, this act will generally constitute. The correct answer is A. An invitation to treat. Explanation. Fisher v. Bell, 1960, and Pharmaceutical Society of Great Britain v. Boots, Cash Chemists, 1953, identified that the courts will generally consider goods advertised in shop windows or those with a price tag attached to constitute an invitation to treat. An invitation to treat is a concept in contract law. It refers to an invitation for a party to make an offer enter into contractual negotiations. Invitations to treat can be anything displayed to a large number of people, as long as there is no defined way to choose who can accept. Items on display in a shop, advertisements, and catalogs are all common examples of invitations to treat. Questions 9. A procurement manager is preparing a long-term contract with a major supplier. She decides to use the variable pricing arrangement using price indices. The payment terms describe the circumstances and mechanism where the price is allowed to change. In order to successfully manage this type of contract, the buying organization should have. The correct answer is A. Good market knowledge. Explanation. There are several approaches to price adjustment for long-term contract. Describing circumstances and mechanism is one of them. Although this approach has some limitations, it is the best option. It relies on good market knowledge but provides the most equitable approach to satisfying the needs of the purchaser and the supplier. Reference: CIPS Study Guide, page 184, LO3, AC 3.3. Questions 10. Maximum score. 1. Setting key performance indicators, KPIs, for supplier performance should ensure. The correct answer is B. Managed supply risks. Explanation: KPIs track and control supplier performance, helping to identify and mitigate supply risks such as late delivery or poor quality. They are a proactive management tool, not a price or sourcing mechanism. Reference: CIPS L4M3 Commercial Contracting, Purpose and Use of KPIs in Contract Management. IND. Questions 11. Maximum score. 1. The nature of the battle of the forms is when both buyer and supplier are attempting to. The correct answer is A. Secure their own terms and conditions. Explanation: the battle of the forms arises when each party seeks to have its own terms and conditions govern the contract. Under common law, the terms last sent and accepted, expressly or by conduct, usually apply. Reference: CIPS L4M3 Commercial Contracting, Battle of the Forms and Contract Acceptance. EDICS. Questions 12. Which of the following could be the last document in a battle of the forms? The correct answer is B. Order Acknowledgement Explanation. In a battle of the forms, both buyer and supplier exchange documents with conflicting terms. The general rule is that the terms of the last document exchanged before performance, e.g., delivery or payment, that is not objected to, will govern the contract. An order acknowledgement from the supplier with its own terms, followed by acceptance, e.g., payment, usually constitutes the final word. Reference: CIPS L4M3 Commercial Contracting Study Guide, Chapter 1, Section 1.2.3, Battle of the Forms and Contractual Precedents, and CIPS. Questions 13. Under hire purchase agreement, when will the ownership of asset legally belong to the purchaser? The correct answer is A. When the final installment is paid. Explanation: hire purchase is an arrangement for buying expensive consumer goods, where the buyer makes an initial down payment and pays the balance plus interest in installments. Ownership is not transferred until the end of the agreement. Hire purchase plans offer more protection to the vendor than other sales or leasing methods for unsecured items. That's because the items can be repossessed more easily should the buyer be unable to keep up with the repayments. The answer is when the final installment is paid. Reference: hire purchase agreements, CIPS Study Guide, page 70, LO1, AC 1.3, TU end. Questions 14. Which of the following is always an advantage of using fixed price arrangement in a contract for buying organization? The correct answer is A. Buyer can allocate budget with certainty. Explanation: advantages of using fixed pricing arrangement are as below. Budget on income certainty. Prices are fixed up front and should not change. The impact of changes to the supplier's cost base is not fed through to the purchaser. If costs diminish, the supplier will benefit from this, and if costs rise, the purchaser will benefit. Reference: CIPS Study Guide, page 172-176, LO3, AC 3.3. Questions 15. A senior buyer is preparing specification for the next purchase. He intends to embed social and environmental criteria that align with his organization's overarching strategy. Which of the following provides the social and environmental objectives that an organization pursues? The correct answer is D. Organization's CSR policies. Explanation: the organization should have an overarching strategies or policies which sets out the social and environmental objectives to be pursued via procurement and the supply chain generally. Some of these will be about the specification, but that must be tied in other aspects of the sourcing strategy. These objectives, policies, and strategies can be found in Corporate Social Responsibility Policy. Reference: CIPS Study Guide, page 96, LO2, AC 2.1. If you want far more practice questions, updated exam-style MCQs, detailed explanations, you can visit Study for Exam for complete CIPS L4M3 practice sets designed to match the actual exam. If L4M3 felt difficult before, it should now feel clearer. With the right MCQ practice, this exam becomes manageable and logical. Stay consistent, practice regularly, and focus on scenario-based thinking. Like the video, share it with others, and comment if you want part 2 with more L4M3 practice questions. Thank you for watching and best of luck with your CIPS Commercial Contracting L4M3 exam.